Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Darren, and I am one of the marketing coordinators with BCIT's School of Health Sciences. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to this online information session for the Electroneurophysiology program. Really appreciate you attending the presentation. And I want to let you know that you can feel free to post any questions that you have into the chat during the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we will answer as many questions as possible in the Q&A segment. And just before I get going, I want to mention that we acknowledge that BCIT campuses are located on unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. Now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Christy McIntosh, the program head for the Electroneurophysiology program. And feel free to take it away when you're ready, Christy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for making it. My name is Christy McIntosh. I'm the program head of the Electroneurophysiology, the ENPY program. And we're really pleased that you've taken time out of your busy day to join us and hear all about our program that we're hoping you'll be interested enough to apply to in the future. So Electroneurophysiology is one of only 3 specialized program of kind in Canada. Physiology are very sought after they graduate. Many of them actually find jobs while they are students to take on as soon as they're finished. Both of hospitals and healthcare clinics need trained technologists to perform their specialized training using sophisticated equipment. And as the only provider of ENPY training in BC, BCIT plays a very, very important role in providing healthcare in Canada with electroneurodiagnostic technologists. So electrophysiological testing is not new. A lot of hospitals don't have electroneurodiagnostic technologists, but it has been around for quite some time. So in 1791, Galvani, with experiments on muscle contraction and frog legs, laid the foundation for development of nerve conduction studies. And EEG is also not a new test. In fact, Hans Berger, who was a German psychiatrist, provided the first human EEGs in 1924. And I heard that actually it was on his kids. So a little bit about our program. It provides a lot of hands-on learning. So it's a continuous 24-month program. We usually have approximately 10 students. In the first year, it's combined of lectures and labs, and this provides the foundational knowledge and theory for doing clinical practicums. There's also a clinical practicum in June that takes place for 4 weeks, kind of an observership, your first exposure to the hospital. And in the second year, there are 3 online seminars which make for 40 weeks of clinical practicum. So the first one is 14 weeks, then you get a 2-week break, another one that's 13 weeks, and then a 2-week break, and then a final one that's 13 weeks as well. And these are done in various hospitals across Canada. Together with you, we come up with a plan for where you would like to travel to. This could be to seek out knowledge that you're particularly interested in. Like, for example, perhaps you are quite interested in pediatrics. Or perhaps you have some relatives in Calgary that you'd like to stay with, so we can try to make that happen to alleviate some of the burden of being a student. So we talked a little bit about the clinical practicum on the previous slide. We use many sites across Canada, which is great for students actually to go and see cities perhaps that they've never seen. We do ask that 50% of the clinical placements must be outside of the Lower Mainland. So you're welcome to do some in the Lower Mainland, but we do ask you to travel for the other 50%. As I said earlier, we do choose these sites with you to find the places that you want to go and perhaps that are easiest for you to find accommodation. So job opportunities, the career outlook. It's extremely optimistic for our graduates. As I said, we're one of 3 schools two of the other schools are actually French speaking. So we supply many of the hospitals across Canada really with graduates. Many of our students actually find jobs months before they even graduate. So in addition to technologists, our graduates often work as chief technologists a little bit down the road, department managers, instructors, researchers, sometimes equipment sales representatives, and program managers. A little bit about our admission details. So we are currently accepting applications for our January 2025 cohort. So our program begins in January, and therefore it's graduate, so January 2025, and that cohort will graduate in late November 2026. So our admission, our application window is currently open right now and will close on May 31st, but then it's open for, at which time we evaluate the applicants which have applied so far. But then we open it again for the summertime and evaluate applicants just after August 31st. So this is for January 2025. So, you know, if you're not sure what you wanted to do, or if you wanted to go to school in September, this is a great way to, you know, get some downtime for the fall. Start in January. You don't have to wait until 2020, you know, September 2025. So, you know, you can figure these things out now, and then just get ready for starting our program in January 2025. Like I said, there's only a few days left for this first application window, but I encourage people to reach out if they have questions to me, and we can talk about the program some more, and you'll have lots of time to apply by August 31st and get an answer, usually within 2 weeks of the deadline. This, as I said, as the program is almost 24 months long. So application steps, you go online and you review the requirements and the application dates. There are some forms online to complete, then and a fee actually for applying to BCIT. You can convert all of your documents, your transcripts and stuff to PDF files and upload them and apply online. You do not have to have your transcripts sent by paper. You can do your upload them as PDFs. So a little bit about the required entrance requirements. You need English 12, 73% or equivalent, pre-calculus 12, 67%, or foundations of math, 73%. We do ask for physics 12, 67% or equivalent. We also ask for a first year anatomy and physiology course. We suggest the basic health sciences 1200 course at BCIT, but we are very open to taking other courses that contain studies of the multiple systems actually in the body. So really any 6 credits of anatomy and physiology from first year courses. There's a mandatory applicant questionnaire that you can find online under our program. And then the shortlisted applicants will be required to complete a multiple mini interview process. So this is where we interview you, a collection actually of interviewers will interview you, asking just a bunch of questions, usually scenarios. If you are out of town, we actually can do this over Teams. Preference will be given to applicants with academic grades above the minimum, additional post-secondary academic courses, a bachelor's degree, work or volunteer experience with the public in a related field. So as I said, admissions assesses online application within 2 to 4 weeks. So they sort of do a first overview of your admissions document or your application documents. Applications that are complete are sent to the department. The department will shortlist as necessary the applicants after the application deadline for the MMI, and decisions are made usually within, like I say, about 2 weeks, and admissions will send acceptance letters to those people.
Thanks, Christy. I'm actually going to take over for just a moment, if that's all right with everyone, and talk about some non-program related information. And you can have a quick drink or something before we get into the questions and answers. Now, moving from the academics, I would like to let you know BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense, and we want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. And some of the student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. And here are some of the important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, the BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. And I'd like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award, and selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. And please contact financial aid directly for more information about that. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. And if you have been accepted to a program and believe that you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to contact our Accessibility Services Department. And BCIT's Student Health Services is a health clinic located on the Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students all year round. We also have a counseling and student development department. They're available to help you to enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. And it's all very confidential, so you can feel rest assured you're safe to speak to them. And our recreation services that promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. And we consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. And of course, a fantastic resource is program advising. So don't hesitate to contact program advising. If you have a question or unsure of something, they can answer questions regarding entrance requirements, the application process, student resources, success strategies, program schedules, and many other things. And they're available to help you on specific days and services by virtual meeting, in person, or email. And you can go to bcit.ca/advising for the most up-to-date information regarding their availability. And of course, we would love for you to connect with us on social media, Facebook, X, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or LinkedIn. And if you want to learn more about BCIT as an institute, you can visit bcit.ca and find out about tours, spend a day program for certain programs, big info, info sessions like this one, and of course, advising to get answers from a program advisor. And that takes us to the questions and answers. So the chat, I know there was a bunch of things popping up, but it's been hidden behind my windows. Just gonna see if I can scroll to the top and get the first one. Christy, are you ready to answer some fantastic questions?
I am. So if you could read them out, I'm ready to go.
Okay, excellent. The first one I see is, do you provide accommodation for clinicals at hospitals?
It depends what it is. It also depends on the hospital, and so we will definitely do as much as we possibly can to ensure that you're successful. We do work with, we have the Disability Resource Center at BCIT, and we do as much as we can to ensure that you're successful. So without knowing anyone's particular situation, it's hard to speak specifically to that. But it is a mandate of BCIT's to help people be successful, accommodate as much as we can, as it is in the hospital. So we really work with everyone as much as we can for success.
Will we learn to also send electric signals to the body? DBS, FES, TMS, epidural?
So we do nerve conduction studies, which involves stimulating the peripheral nerves with a little tiny zap of electricity. some of the other tests that you have mentioned pertain to physiotherapy, and we do not do that. Although we do actually stimulate nerves and muscles actually with little jolts of electricity to investigate the integrity of the peripheral nervous system.
The next question is it a question? Can consider going to Kelowna's hospital since I lived there 5 years before, but will need accommodation. I guess it's another accommodation question. Maybe that's like the first one.
We do use Kelowna as a clinical site, actually. They've hosted many of our students over the years.
Another accommodations question. Does BCIT offer accommodation? Whoa. Well, does BCIT offer accommodation while studying? It's an hour commute from where I live. Would prefer to be closer.
So I think you're speaking to housing. For this one, yeah, BCIT does have housing actually, and we have different kinds of residents. A lot of our, and some of them actually have, cooking within the residences. So yeah, a lot of our students actually do live on site.
How can I make my application stronger above the general requirements?
As said, sort of, let's see, good marks, definitely helpful. It is competitive to get in. So good marks, lots of science background, lots of experience with the public. So it's not just that volunteered in a hospital. We really value the fact that you may have been a server in a restaurant or worked at a cash register in a supermarket. All those situations, you're dealing with people that may be difficult and may have had a hard day, may not be feeling well. So we do appreciate all kinds of experiences. So that's another thing. Take the time when you fill out the forms about what is your motivation. Take the time to really tell us why you want to be in the program. Say a lot in the forms. Don't take those forms lightly. Thanks so much for that question. That's a good question.
Great. And we have a two-part question. Well, sorry, screen just jumped. I'm enrolled in your Basic Health Science 1200 this September. Can I still apply this year?
It depends when it ends. I encourage you to email me about your situation. Sometimes we can give a provisional acceptance based on midterm marks. So please reach out to me directly.
Okay, great. I did put your email address up on the screen, along with program advising, which is very important. And the second part was, and sorry that I don't know this, and hopefully you know more than I do, but maybe not. How do you apply to housing?
I believe actually on the webpage, actually it'll tell you, I think it's BCIT Housing is actually who you directly want to speak to. If you Google them, you will find the forms and the deadlines for applying to BCIT Housing. It does come up quickly, and so you want to make sure that you get that done as soon as possible. I believe in order to apply to housing, you have to have what's called an A0 number, which is a number that is generated once you apply. So in order to apply to housing, you have to apply to BCIT first.
That is good to know. Thanks, Christy. And there is a third part. All of the academics I've done, grade 12 and above, consist of 2 semesters. For example, my pre-calc has 2 separate grades for first and second semester. Which one do I put down when applying?
Put down your midterm mark if you don't have your final mark yet. And I think just indicate that it's an interim mark. The people in admissions are very used to that sort of situation. So I think it is usually obvious on your transcript that it's not a final mark. So they'll figure it out. They encounter that all the time. But great question. Thanks.
Hope I didn't skip any. I do see somebody typing. I just want to see if another question is going to show up. So we have time for a couple more questions for sure. I see some people typing. We'll just give it a minute.
Sure. While people are typing in some more questions, I really do encourage you to take the advantage of our time frame. It's a little unusual compared to many of the other programs, so it could give you some downtime in the fall to work, or even to take a course to upgrade, or to get ready for the program that starts in January. So it's a nice thing to take advantage of. We are a very specialized program. We fill a niche. There are not a lot of technologists in our field, and we are extremely sought after. So a lot of people maybe have a little bit of a neuroscience background, and this is perfect for them, or a psychology background, or a physiology background. It's a little niche program that we just no problem finding jobs. So I encourage you all to take advantage of our time frame, our sort of our 2 application windows, like I said, till August 31st. Or if you can get your stuff together and even apply this week, that would be great. But January 2025 will be the next cohort that will get started. Okay, so we can go to some more questions now if there are some.
Yeah, perfect. There's actually a follow-up to the multiple semester marks here. It says, I've done my bachelor's, so it's all final marks. It's like you have to pass the first semester to go to the second. Would I be putting down the second semester marks instead?
I would assume so. Yeah, if you made it to the second, if it's a 6 credit course and you had to and you were able to continue on, admissions is actually very familiar with these sorts of situations. They get all courses from all places, and know how to interpret this. So I think you'd put down your final mark, and they would know. They're familiar with all the courses actually in BC. So that's kind of the second thing. So I would just encourage you to, you have to submit your transcript, so you kind of can't leave things out anyway. So not to worry, just and often admissions will get back to you and tell you, if they need more information. So they're the experts. And I would just get your transcripts uploaded as fast as you can. Thanks.
Okay, great. Would post-secondary courses take precedence over secondary school marks if they are better or worse? Thank you.
For post-secondary, we actually don't have minimum requirements with regards to grades. So we do look at post-secondary over high school. Obviously, it's a bit of a balance because, if you got 98% in physics 12 and then didn't do great in university in physics, we would, we'd have a look at that. But honestly, I think everybody that's gone through post-secondary understands that post-secondary is harder. So that we kind of take it with a grain of salt. So it's really common that post-secondary courses like you get is harder and marks are not as good. So so that doesn't really ever surprise us. So not to worry about that. You do have to submit both though. Sometimes people only submit university transcripts. Make sure you submit both. And conversely, just submitting grade 12 courses, because those are the prerequisites, is also not enough. You need to submit all your transcripts, everyone. Thanks.
Would you be able to comment on the job prospects within the Lower Mainland? Thanks again.
They're quite good at this time. Obviously, Vancouver is very beautiful and everybody wants to work in Vancouver. So often many of our students, that would be their preference. However, Vancouver is the most expensive city in Canada. So a lot of people decide while they're young to go somewhere else. So there's a bit of that. Sometimes people actually decide to leave for a while and then come back later when they have more experience and they're more likely to get hired in Vancouver. So Vancouver is highly sought after, not just in our field, in every field. So sometimes maybe a person couldn't get a permanent full-time job in Vancouver, so they might try to get a permanent full-time job in Victoria or Abbotsford. Or sometimes people may consider getting a part-time job in Vancouver as opposed to a full-time job in Vancouver. It really depends on how important it is for people to work in Vancouver. So like I said, some people do move away and then come back. A lot of other cities in Canada have been offering our students sign-on bonuses to get them to encourage them to, consider other places to live, or to try out for a couple of years, or other kind of incentives like paying back in tuition, or trying to raise their wages to encourage them to try out another province. There are all sorts of incentives. So it really depends how badly you want to live in Vancouver. If you'd rather take a permanent job, permanent full-time job, you might want to that has more incentives, you might want to move elsewhere. But Vancouver tends to be the most highly sought after place. That being said, it's also the most expensive. So it's kind of a balance actually in your decision making. It really comes down to what you want. Hope that helps.
Okay. If you apply in January 2025, then when would you start this program?
So we're taking in students every year now. So if you applied in January 2025, you wouldn't be evaluated till May 31st, and you wouldn't get in till January 2026. So if you apply, just one thing to be to clear up though, if you apply earlier, you don't get in earlier. Like we will not be evaluating all the applications until like June 1st and then September 1st. So if somebody was to apply in April, they're not going to get evaluated earlier. They still won't get evaluated till May 31st. It's passed. So if you apply in January 2025, we won't look at your application really till the end of May, June 1st, and you wouldn't get in till January 2026. I hope that helps.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christy. I currently work at the Research Center at VGH. Can I do my practicum there if they allow it?
So the Research Center doesn't have a lab. So we definitely love the idea of our students doing research while they work as techs, but we're looking for putting students in clinical labs in the hospitals, not research at this time. VGH does have an EEG and an EMG lab though, so we do send a lot of students to VGH.
Great. I didn't take physics in grade 12 and got low grade in university compared to your requirements. Would you recommend I take physics again?
Perhaps. I mean, occasionally we do have students that apply twice, so you could apply and see how it goes, especially since you did take physics in first year. So sometimes if we're not sure, we ask the physics department to review the course that you took, and they can tell us something like, oh, that course had all the elements that we wanted to see in grade 12, so the course that they took in university is acceptable. So I encourage you to speak to me or speak to admissions or program advising, and we can coordinate. We can talk to the physics department actually at BCIT, and they also are familiar with the courses and will tell us what they think.
Okay, awesome. What is the time span per day for the classes for this program, and about how many hours a week of homework per course?
It's an intense program. We get a lot done in 2 years. So we have about 30 contact hours per week. So a contact hour would be how many hours you need to be in the at BCIT in the school, like in courses. So it's a lot. Also for your homework assignments, you need to come in often to do them because you have to be able to use the EEG or the EMG machines. Now we also have a server, so sometimes you can do, you can review some of the recordings at home using our server. So that's really something that's been developed over the last couple of years and is just a great perk. Like I said, it is an intensive program, and some of the homework you have to do at BCIT because you need to be able to use the machines. It's a beautiful campus. We have, but yeah, it is a heavy course load. So it's and you do have your own personal lab that you go to, and it's a really nice space.
Excellent. I have a follow-up from Jordan about the Lower Mainland prospects working, and he says thanks for the or they say thanks for the response. Christy, I think was more wondering about whether graduates have found any difficulty obtaining a position in Vancouver at all.
So I'll just finish up that last question. Yeah, so the hours are basically 8:30 to 5. Usually they don't go quite till 5. It's usually a little bit earlier than that, maybe 3:30. With regards to graduates, ultimately, I'd say the majority of the people that work in Vancouver are from BCIT, although some of them maybe didn't find permanent full-time jobs until a little while after they graduated, like maybe a couple of years. However, a lot of our students get jobs in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, really, either as casual, mat leave, part-time, and the occasional full-time immediately after graduating. It's partly due to experience, really, but the sort of thing that makes it a little bit more possible is, like I said, the cost of living in Vancouver is quite hefty. So some people actually choose to go elsewhere just because they want to make more money, or retain more money, I suppose is the way to put it. So yeah, we definitely like the majority of people in BC are BCIT grads. It is harder to work in Vancouver immediately after graduating compared to perhaps other cities. But I have to stress, this isn't just us. This is all of healthcare. This is all of like work. So the more experienced people are going to want to work full time downtown in the big city. So this isn't just something that's exclusive to our program. That's the way it goes with all programs. But I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Is it possible for all the spots to fill in the program before the second intake between June and August?
It is possible. That usually doesn't happen. Usually there's a few left. It's just whether or not it's going to be a bunch left or a few left. So, and that's kind of why we do the 2 windows, because often after the first one, we haven't selected a full class.
So it is possible. Thank you. Are the classes from 8:30 to 5 Monday to Friday?
Yes, they are. But as I said before, they rarely go till 5. They might be more likely to go till 3:30. There are no classes on Saturdays or Sundays, although often people come in on the weekend to work in the lab, or sometimes they'll stay later to work in the lab, but the classes are really never past 3:30. And also, if you come back to work in the lab, that's often sort of, whichever hours work best for you. For example, if you wanted to come in on Saturday morning or Sunday night or, whatever, if you needed to use the machine. But we have 5 machines of, well, 5 EEG machines, 5 EMG machines. So if there's 10 people in the class, we usually work in pairs. So you don't, it's not a case of you know, you have to reserve a machine because there aren't, you know, you're not going to have access to it if you don't. You pretty much always have access to the machines. So yeah, I would say it's never any earlier than 8:30. And usually only about 3:30. And some days even are a little bit earlier than that, but I would say on average 3:30.
Thanks, Christy. And that pretty much takes us up to our end of time. So that was a lot of good questions, and thank you for hanging around, everybody, and asking some important things. Just put in the chat, but I'll also say that a copy of the slide presentation and a link to the info session video recording will be sent out to all registrants in a week or two, hopefully next week. And unless there's any last minute, oh, here's a question.
Oh, looks like we have some. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is good. I see 8 classes in the first semester. Will all 8 be done per day?
No. So not all the classes have the same amount of credits. So for example, you may have a class that has 2 credits and another class that has 8 credits. So you know, it depends on the scheduling. So some, you may have like one class that's, you know, 2 hours on a Monday and that's it. You may have, I know with ENPY, the EEG course is quite a few credits, and I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's not the same number of courses every single day. They really, or scheduling would be very hard that way. But so all 8 courses are not created equally. There's, of those 8 courses, there are some very small ones and some very big ones that are like the ENPY ones are the big ones.
I did see someone typing, but it stopped. So it is time for us to wrap it up. But like I said, I want to thank you all for being with us today, and we wish you all the best in your future in health sciences or whatever you happen to do. And hopefully we'll see you on campus in the near future. And thank you all again.
Reach out to us. Yeah. Send me an email if you have any more questions.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.